How you guys doing? Mr. Cubic here. Today we're doing an awesome lesson. I'm not going to lie to you. It has poetry. What? So Thursday, 30 April 2020. 30 days have September, April, June. So the last day of April. We're doing section 12 too. So again, I'm trying to go slow. I know a lot of this stuff is hard. So I'm going to spend 2 days on this. This one's a little different than last time. Last time I made it into 3 mini topics. Tomorrow I'm just going to basically do the exact same thing that I do today. So I'm going to do page 166, 1 to 17. We're going to do that tonight. Tomorrow for my lecture, I'm just going to do 3 hand-picked problems from tonight's homework, and then you're going to do the same thing again, but with the evens. Okay? I'm going to go ahead. That's a 1 minute mark, so that's usually when I get my ugly face off. Handsome, ugly. Today I'm pretty unshowered, so I'm going to say it's pretty gross. All right, so you need to memorize this. You don't have a choice in the matter. This is a poem written by Father Galvin. So Father Galvin is a Jesuit, so that's the priest at Prep in Gonzaga. He was pretty cool. He used to say the prayers for the football team. We had mass every day before the games. And after he died, which is probably, 12 years ago now, maybe more. But after Father Galvin died, they released this thing. It's pretty cool. Super Bowl I. So they took the old footage of Super Bowl I and they had like announcers do it like you were watching it on TV nowadays. And they showed a shot of the crowd. And Father Galvin had been at Super Bowl I all the way back in 1968. Somebody had given him tickets for his birthday. He was a big, football fan. Maybe Packers, I don't know. It's a weird poem. It's actually got a lot of iambs in it, so it's a lot of long shorts. So with A at 1 and C, remove D. Okay? So we kind of don't need that syllable. So with A at 1 and C, removed. Take half of B and square and add. Right? I forgot I'm doing my cursor. You need to see this. And square and add. The square so formed we now express. Then deroot and solve for x. Okay? So first thing I tell you is it kind of doesn't really rhyme. Remove it and add, right? Express and x. But it's kind of easy to remember just because it has that strong boom, 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 boom. So it's long, short, with A at 1 and C, remove id. Take half of B and square and add. The square so formed we now express. Then deroot and solve for x. So this is where the term deroot comes from. Okay, so today I'm going to do 3 problems, and all I want you guys to understand is what this means. Okay, so I'm going to make sure as much as I can you're going to see the poem. All right, so all the poem is the directions on how to solve this by completing the square. All right, so it says with A at 1 and C removed. So what do these A, B, and C stand for? Okay, they stand for the general form of a quadratic. So remember, it's going to be ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So here, right, when I go to solve this, all right, A is 1, B is negative 20, and C is positive 16. Okay? So, let's go slow. With A at 1, alright? Well, A is 1. Okay, so thank you. Right? And C removed. Okay, so when they say and C removed, I want to take this C term and get rid of it. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I am going to subtract 16 from both sides. Okay? And I'm left with x squared minus 20x equals negative 16. Alright, so now I've done the first line. Set a to 1 with a at 1 and remove c, and c removed. So I moved c to the other side. I had to put it somewhere. I moved it to the other side. Okay, so the next line is take half of b and square and add. So b here is negative 20. So what is half of negative 20? Well, I divide by 2 and I get negative 10. And then I square. So I'm going to add, so I have negative 10 squared, which is positive 100. So notice whenever I square it, even though it was a negative, right, when I square it, a negative times a negative is a positive. So half of b squared is 100, and I'm going to add 100 to both sides. So take half of b and square and add. So I get x squared minus 20x plus 100 is equal to negative 16 plus 100. Right? So that's going to be equal to 84. Alright? So what did you just do, Mr. Cubic? Well, all I really did is I added 100 to both sides. Well, where'd you get the 100? Okay, great question. I took the middle term, the b term, negative 20. I divided it by 2, got negative 10, squared the result, got positive 100, and that's where the positive 100 came from. Okay, now the square so formed, we now express. What? This is the genius of the complete the square method, which he didn't, Father Galvin didn't make up the method, he just made up the poem. The genius of completing the square is if you've done everything right, I know this first term is going to be a perfect square, and I know this last term is going to be a perfect square. So is it possible that this is equal to 2ab? Well, it's not only possible, it's 100% true, because I did 1/2 of b, so this would be 2 times x times 10, which is 20x. That is a perfect square. New day, so I'm going to start off with a boom goes the dynamite. Alright, so the square so formed we now express. So everybody gives us some love. The x squared gives us the x, right? The 100 gives us the 10. And this middle term gives us its sign. So that is x minus 10 squared is equal to 84. So that's what Father Galvin means, right? X minus 10 is the square that was formed. We just expressed it, right? We expressed it as a perfect square. Then d root. Okay, so this is the first use of d root. So if it ever makes it into the dictionary, right, this would be the first citation. So I get x minus 10 quantity squared, the square root of that, which is absolute value of x minus 10, is equal to root 84, 21 and 4, which is 2 root 21. Okay? So now here, I get x minus 10 is equal to plus or minus 2 root 21. Now, I should bifurcate here. I am not going to, okay? I think that we've done enough of them that you should understand where that plus or minus comes from, okay? So now from here, I would add 10 to both sides. So these cancel, and I just get x, and x is equal to 10 plus or minus 2 root 21. and that is my answer. Sorry about that. And that is my answer. So x equals 10 plus or minus 2 root 21. Okay? So you can go back and reread that, rewatch it. I'm just going to do 2 more examples. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the poem at the top. All right? So Father Aloysius Galvin, S.J. Okay? And so our problem is, right, x squared minus 24x plus 23. Okay, so I'm going to go with Limey. I'm allowed to use Limey on the desk. Okay, so let's go slow here. So first of all, there is a tacit or understood 1 there. Okay. So I do A is 1, B is negative 24, and C is positive 23. Alright, so these are kind of some big numbers, so I have my calculator handy, right, just so you guys can see when I get it, where I'm getting it from. Okay, so with A at 1, I chose another easy one. It's a little harder when A doesn't equal 1, just like when we factor when A doesn't equal 1. And C removed. Well, C is 23, so I want to get it out of Dodge. So minus 23, and I get x squared minus 24x equals negative 23. Alright? Now, take half of b. So b is negative 24. Half of b, right? Of means times, is 1/2 times negative 24. So half of b is negative 12. And I'm going to square that. So negative 12 squared is going to be positive 144. This will always be positive, right? So whenever I square a number, it's going to give me a positive result. Okay? And add. So now I'm going to add 144 to both sides. Okay? So here I get x squared minus 24x plus 144 is equal to, I'm not going to need my calculator for that. Right? I'll do it for you guys. Alright, so turn it on. 144 minus 23. We all know what it is. 121. So there we go. Alright. So we did this line. The A at 1 and C removed. Take half of B and square and add. The square so formed we now express. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. We're going to lose, I think, the end. So if I've done everything right, this should be a perfect square. So this is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square. Well, is this minus 2ab question mark? Right? So it'd be minus 2 times x times minus 12, which is, or times 12, which is minus 14x, right? Booyah! Booyah! So that is a perfect square. So that means that x, right, that gives me a term, the x. This gives me its term, the 12. This gives me its sign, the minus, x minus 12 quantity squared equals 121. So I've now finished line 3. The square so formed we now express. Okay? Then d root. Take the square root of both sides. Root x minus 12 quantity squared equals root 121. Absolute value of x minus 12 is equal to 11. So x minus 12 equals plus or minus 11. So I add 12 to both sides. So I get x equals 12 plus or minus 11. So the last problem, and you can kind of see it, I have it right underneath, right? I had that root 21 there, so I couldn't solve that. Those are unlike terms. These are like terms now, right? These are like terms. So I could do 12 plus 11, which is 23, 3, and 12 minus 11, which is 1. So I have two answers. The first one is x equals 1. The second one is x equals 23. And that is the answer. 1 and 23. Alright, so I have one more of these to do. I left the hardest one for last. Okay, I don't think you have to do this on tonight's homework, but you will. Maybe on the last one you have to do it. But for most of tonight's homework, you're not going to need this. So I'm going to leave the ode to completing the square by Father Aloysius is how you say that, right? And I'll put that at the top. And here is the problem. So this one is about as hard as they get. I'm at 1641. This will probably take about 7 minutes. So let me go ahead and move this down. All right, so with a at 1 and c removed, take half of b and square and add. The square so formed we now express. Then d-root and solve for x. All right, so let's go slow. All right, what do they mean? What are these mysterious a, b, and c terms? We're talking about the standard form or general form. So I know that a equals 3, b equals 4, and c equals -1. So that's what they mean, right, when they say a, b, and c. All right, so with a at 1, oh my God, what a pain in the tuchus. All right, a does not equal 1, so I need to make this equal to 1. So the easiest thing to do would be to divide everything by 3. Okay, so this is why this is not a popular method. So these guys cancel, and I get x squared plus 4/3 x minus 1/3 equals 0. You're not going to like this one. Okay, and c removed. So I'm not going to add 1 here because now it's changed into 1/3. So I'm going to add 1/3 to both sides. Okay, so instead of 1, I'm going to do the new improved c, which is 1/3. So this cancels. I remove it, which is exactly what my goal is. So now at the end of line 1, with a at 1 and c removed, right, I have x plus 4/3 x equals 1/3. Okay, so hold on till I'm done with the problem. You go change your underwears. Okay, so that's part 1. The next line, take half of b and square and add. So b is currently 4/3. If I want half of b, I would multiply by 1/2. We all know that of means times here. So half of b is, oh, those cancel, is going to be 2/3. If you got 4/6, you would just reduce it to 2/3. Okay, so then I need to square that. So 2/3 squared is 2 squared over 3 squared, which is 4/9. Again, I'm going very slow to make sure you understand what's going on. Obviously, you could do this a little bit quicker. Okay, so technically everything that I'm doing here, right, it's like a little thought bubble. It's just like an aside, right? All I'm doing is saying, what am I going to add now to make this into a perfect square, right? Well, I'm going to add 4 9s to both sides. Okay? So, and add. So take the half of b, square it, and add it. So I have x squared plus 4/3 x plus 4 over 9 equals 1 over 3 plus 4 over 9. I got to clean that up. So that'd be 3 over 9 plus 4 over 9, which is 7 over 9. So I told you this is the hardest one. So now I'm just going to rewrite it without all that muss. So after line 2, x squared plus 4 over 3x plus 4 over 9 is equal to 7 over 9. Okay? Wow. Right? With a at 1 and c removed, take half of b and square and add. The square so formed we now express. Wait a minute, this is a perfect square? Well, I know this is a perfect square. That one's easy. And I know this is a perfect square. I just squared it to make it 1, so that's 2/3 square. Could this be equal to 2 times a times b? Right? Could this be equal to 2 times x times 2/3? Right? So 2 over 1 times 2/3 times x is 4/3 x. Egad? Gadzooks? That is a perfect square. So everyone gives us something. Well, what do you give us, Mr. X squared? I'm going to give you my x. And what are you going to give us, 2/3? I'm going to give you my 2/3. And what are you going to give us, 4/3 x? Why, I'm just going to give you my sine. Right? So I have quantity x plus 2/3 squared equals 7 over 9. Done with line 3. The square so formed we now express. Then d root, yes, to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of x plus 2/3 quantity squared is equal to the square root of 7 over 9. Let's clean this up on the right-hand side. That's root 7 over root 9, which is root 7 over 3. So here, I know that this is equal to the absolute value of x plus 2/3. And I know that this is equal to root 7 over 3. Alright, so I'm getting close to 25 minutes, and I don't want to ever go longer than that. So that means that x plus 2 over 3 is equal to plus or minus root 7 over 3, which means that x is equal to negative 2 over 3 plus or minus root 7 over 3. How did I get there? I just subtracted 2/3 from both sides. I'm getting low on the paper. Alright, so I would accept that, but if you wanted to, since you have a common denominator, you could also say this is x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus root 7 all over 3. Both of these are equally, yeah, I speak the language of the Ingles. Okay, either of those is correct. So again, I know that tonight's homework is hard. I gave you, I think, 8 problems. Again, do your best. If you can't go anymore, then figure it out. All the answers are in the back for tonight's homework. And tomorrow, I'm going to do 3 problems. There's no new notes tomorrow, right? I'm just going to go over 3 problems with you. Okay? So, good luck. Again, contact me with questions. And I have, if you want to see it not with Ode to Completing, with Father Galvin, Ode to Completing the Square, you can see how Saul did it for Khan Academy. All right, you guys. Peace.